So yeah, let's
Yeah.
continue with my colleague Steph he's the lead technical support specialist for the Gupta products, and his session about data analytics and the customer experience.
Okay. Yeah, good morning. You can see my presentation?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so good morning, good afternoon or evening, wherever you are, and thanks for attending the customer support presentation this morning. As you can see, the title of the presentation here is data analysis and the customer experience, and I will talk a little bit about a number of areas that actually connected. Obviously, some of what Martin advised in terms of the release cadence, which was important part of the our recent developments in the last 14 months or so. So I'd like to just start with an introduction. Many of you will not be familiar with myself, and I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. So I'm Steph Lucades. I'm the customer support manager for Dagis, the Dagis product support group global lead. That does include Gupta and the Access One RCM archiving solutions. I've been with the in the industry for 32 years, approximately 22 years with the company across a number of acquisitions. So in that time frame, I've covered a number of roles: infrastructure design, administration, PS consulting, project engagement management, and customer support management now, which I inherited from Anna Paula Bonani, which many of you will be familiar with, and I still work with Anna on a number of projects. So I classify myself as a strong customer advocate, familiar with the technical and business challenges faced by our customers, and I wanted to kind of stress that point because we understand where you're coming from, we understand where you need to go, and hopefully we support you effectively in that process. So yeah, the presentation theme, data analysis and the customer experience. I'd just like to step you through what we will look at and what it means and so on. So we're going to focus somewhat on the surveys that we send out, because they underpin the data that we receive from you, our customers, and on what we base our decisions and the impact that those have. So we'll have a look at the survey workflow, a brief overview of the communications that you will receive. So many of you will be familiar with that. Analysis of that content, how we receive the content that you compile, and how we then interpret that, how that content influences our decision making, and ultimately the impact on engagement and the release cycles and the roadmap. So it is important that for me to go through that process with you, and some of this you may be familiar with, and some of it will be maybe a little bit more interesting to you. So let's have a quick look at the survey workflow, and of course you will be familiar with some of this. And then once we close an incident, we will close the incident with a closing statement advising that you may receive a customer experience survey. That will be followed up typically with an email from the customer experience team asking whether you'd be interested in completing the survey, and if you are agreeable, we take you to the customer satisfaction survey. So obviously many of you will be familiar with this, and again I stress it's important for me to go through this because it underpins a lot of our decision making. This is a primary communication protocol we have with our customers, and it's it is fundamentally important to us. So what you will receive, the survey will have 3 primary questions on the first page, and again, I am repeating myself because it is important. You will be familiar with this, but what I wanted to tell you is what we see and what this really means to us. So the initial question will be, how satisfied were you with the OpenText support request? This essentially boils down to a customer satisfaction question, and a lot of this will become clearer as we work through this presentation. The second question here, other than the primary reason for your score, how satisfied were you with the quality of your product? This again fundamentally gives us a product quality satisfaction score. So how we use that will become evident again later in the presentation. And finally, OpenText made it easy for me to handle my support issue. To what extent do you agree with that? And that again is boils down to a customer effort score. So with these three things are our primary KPIs, what I refer to as our headline KPIs. So we refer back to these quite a lot, and I'll go into a little bit more detail as we move forward. The other page of the survey that I wanted to draw your attention to was the 7-point question here related to your satisfaction with our OpenText support professional. So again, this is important. It will become more apparent how we use this information in our 4-box model, which I'll cover shortly. So in summary, in terms of the survey workflow, both long and short surveys are provided to everyone. Everyone will receive the same survey, at least the first page. You'll continue to see the long survey until a survey is submitted. Once you have submitted a long survey, rotation logic is in place to send you out a short survey for the next 14 days, and that's us understanding that you don't always want to take time or have the time to respond to surveys, so we send out the shorter survey, which should take a little less time to complete. So analysis. As an overview, it's important to let you know that we do see all feedback, and we review many surveys individually, and we record that content, and we strongly urge your participation in the program. It is fundamentally important to our analysis of how our customers feel. So as well as the feedback data, we do obviously look at the incident metrics, and again, those are fundamental elements of the decision-making process. They do influence product content, and they do influence timelines. We have regular customer support, engineering, and product management meetings to ensure that the customer perspective is heard. So again, it's important that you realize that we do advocate for the customer, and that's kind of a fundamental premise of my position here and my approach. It's very important that we advocate for the customer. So what we receive, we will push in across the teams and across the organization. We will produce a detailed analysis to the global team and all stakeholders on a monthly basis, and we constantly review our customer support goals within the team, which is driven by the data and our customer engagement. So the analysts working with you, understanding your methods of working and your approach. So we take the incident, we take the data, and we take our customer experience, and we constantly review and analyze that. So in terms of the headline metrics, the first page of the survey, as I said, was headline metrics, and this is how they are rolled up to us as a counter, as a clock dial type graphic, which we receive as regularly on demand, essentially. So the first area, customer satisfaction. It's important for me to kind of drill down into what these really mean, and what they mean when you do look at completing these. So customer satisfaction, it typically relates to a very specific service or product interaction. So it should be relative to the specific case that we supported you with. and it is not a measure of long-term relationships or experiences. So it's specific to the incident that we helped you with. Equally, customer effort, the five-point question, again, identifies the extent of effort necessary to interact with the service or with the product or us, essentially. Again, that's relative to the specific case that we supported you with, and again, it's not a measure of a long-term relationship or experience. So it's very specifically the activity that you raised the incident for, and that we provided the survey for. Conversely, and it can be a little bit confusing when you're completing these surveys, product quality is typically your long-term perspective on satisfaction. So it's not immediately dictated by the case that we worked with you on, and it does tend to be a measure of our long-term relationship with you. So these metrics are rolled up metrics, real world metrics I'm presenting here. We're not presenting a period of time, but we are showing you real world metrics that have been obtained from your feedback, and that is very important. So the second page of the survey, where we had the 7 questions for the analyst approach and activity, I mentioned the 4-box model, and this is how the data is reported to us. Again, it's rolled up. We have 4 boxes working from top right, clockwise to top left. Content will come to the top right. It's a leverage zone. It means that we are delivering what is important to you very well. As we work down into the maintain zone, drivers may be less important to you, but we are delivering them well. To the left into the improve zone, drivers may be less important, but they're being under-delivered by the team. And elements in the prioritize zone are drivers that are important to you but are being under-delivered. So how does that look in the real world? Again, these are real world metrics. So for customer effort, a period in time has shown us that communication and accessibility, we were performing well, as well as status updates, issue ownership, professionalism, and technical knowledge. So these are in the maintain zone. Unfortunately, for this period of time, customer effort, you felt that we could have done better in timeliness of issue resolution. So the 7 questions and the ranking and all the surveys that we receive will be rolled up into a presentation into our 4-box model here. For product quality, it's the same. For this particular period, our status updates, communication, accessibility, you were happy with. Professionalism, technical knowledge, timeliness, equally is what we call in the maintain zone. So we're doing okay. For the product quality on this particular period, issue ownership was seen as needing some improvement. So, and again, customer satisfaction would equally be reflected in a similar 4-box model. And again, these are fundamental to our analysis. If we see areas in prioritize or improve zones, we will drill down into the data and we will have a look to see what caused that feedback, and then focus on our approach to that feedback. Incident metrics. As well as your feedback, we do look at the data that we receive. We do look at the volume of cases, and we do drill down to understand what's happening and how we can the areas that we can improve on. So we break down our incidents into kind of generic high-level root cause categories to begin with. This gives us a general idea as to where the volume of incidents are focused, and it allows us to drill down a little bit further. If you know, a large volume is in product defects, it may need to be looked at a little bit closer. If we have a large volume of technical assistance, what can we do to improve that? So, for example, in this period, and these are closed. These metrics come from closed data, so these are issues that we resolved in this period. So 53% of all incidents in this period were required R&D effort, but those were resolved incidents. So we just, if we have a closer look at the numbers for this period, 43% of incidents were product defects, and they do require engineering engagement, potentially more time to review and resolve. Just over a third of our incidents were categorized as technical assistance, which means they were essentially wholly owned by customer support, potentially resulting in shorter resolution times. Feature requests were just 10% of our volume, and a small volume of administrative issues, 10%, technical help, other than technical help, sorry, licensing, duplicates, etc. So that's a high-level view, and depending on, you know, whether we had a release out, these will change, and it gives us a good idea as to, you know, what we're seeing in terms of the incidents that you're raising based on potentially a release cycle. We do drill down into those metrics. What we call root cause detail allows us to understand more specifically which elements you're asking us to focus on. Yeah, it allows us to identify specific problem areas. Outliers and trends will be investigated to understand whether we need, and this is important, whether we need to focus on product development, education of our analysts, of our teams, of our ticket handling mechanisms, knowledge center improvements, etc. So, you know, we do consider all of those elements when we're looking at your incidents. Yeah, and we will look at individual incidents specifically to see whether we could have handled those better in any way. So that's another, those are incident metrics that we do look at. And, you know, all of this is coming around to references to our cadences and our release cadences and how they have been influenced. So days to closure is also an important one to us, equally to yourselves as customers. It's a measure that we're constantly looking to improve. Again, this is a real world metric here, showing that over time we have reduced our days to closure. We are addressing your active incidents, and those are incidents that it's an internal term. It doesn't mean that other incidents are not active. It just means the customer support team, incidents with the customer support team, not with engineering. So we are addressing those quicker. So our days to closure is being reduced over time. Where we need to refer to R&D or engineering, the development lifecycle may well impact on the time to resolve the issue, but we are also addressing your engineering incidents quicker. And, you know, these are taken from the data that we're seeing, and you know, we're making real world improvements over time. So this is more of a summary area for analysis, our review area. So, you know, let's what are we looking at? Again, headline metrics, KPIs, general level of satisfaction monitored over time to understand the impact of our changes over both the long and short term. I'll show you a little bit of that moving forward. The survey analysis is regular and ongoing. Our key drivers, the 4-box model that I showed you, general level of satisfaction. Our backlogs, our targets, excuse me. Targets are below the industry averages for incoming closure volumes, and of course, the fewer tickets we have, lower backlog, means that impacts on our days to closure and our service to the customer. So again, days to closure, close monitoring to understand delays and positive progress, and release cadence impacts based on those days to closure. And long-running incident trends. We spend a lot of time analyzing incidents that are long-running. I classify long-running incidents as anything over 21 days. We have a number of categories over 21 days, moving into over 90 days, and of course, many of those where a defect or a feature request requires engineering attention, that may extend the long-running nature. But if anything is over 21 days, it's red flagged, and I ensure focus over and above the focus that we would ensure otherwise. Okay, so decision making and impact. I wanted to take the top 10 considerations over the last 14 months or so, 16 months or so, where we have implemented a product support group initiative, and alongside a kind of a set of enhancement initiatives to improve the product and the service. So obviously these aren't in any particular order, but the first one on the list was the decision to move to a 90-day release cadence, primarily for team developer. The largest volume of tickets, the area that we felt we could impact the most. So for a number of reasons, internal resourcing, consideration of the product quality, the consideration of how we could move improvements to you quicker and more regularly and at a more focused basis, all with an aim to a long-term target of improving product quality. So that move to 90-day cadence was fundamentally important in our recent history. Across the board, we have a more regular service pack release cadence across our product range. So as Martin alluded to in his presentation, we the roadmaps, and we have regular releases over and above those that we used to perform. Our flexibility on hot fixes, one-offs, ad hoc releases for critical incidents, with the focus on service pack and major release cadence, we took the decision that one-offs, ad hoc releases really had to be critical requirements, and we are flexible on those requests. We do understand the pressure to make your timelines and the business requirements. So that is the reason why we do ask for a business justification when we're looking at one-off hot fixes. That does take time away from the engineering team focusing on the regular release cadence that impacts everyone. So we do have some flexibility on that. So with the move to the improved release cadences, it allows us to define a long-term release roadmap, produce a well-defined long-term release roadmap, which benefits us in our planning, and also allows you to coordinate your release schedules effectively with our approach. So hopefully those are aligned, and the lead times that we provide and the regularity allows you to be more effective and more efficient in your development plans. With that, we have tried to reduce our dependency on engineering. So engineering focus on those releases. The percentage of incidents that remain with technical support team, customer support representatives, has increased over time, which means again that we are focusing on your incidents out of support. We're able to resolve your incidents without delays into engineering, and then as I've advised it improves your data closure and allows us all to be more efficient with our time and more effective with our time. I focus on our backlog reduction. Those incidents that, yeah, as I've mentioned, it was a primary focus, so we've taken that on board. Therefore, we've improved our data closure, so that the data closure metrics and understanding those have been significantly considered. And in and amongst that, our global standard operating procedures. It was one element that I had to focus on in the early days of taking over this position, was ensuring that you get a consistent service across the globe. So whether you work with our team out of Manila, whether you work with our team out of Hyderabad or APAC across Europe and North America, we're a large organization with a disparate team, but we regard ourselves as a very effective team, looking to ensure that we follow best practice and establish best practice in the organization. And part of that was to ensure that every member of the team was following the similar identical procedures to give you again, efficient and holistic service. And I think the team have done very well in that, and some of the feedback, or the feedback that we received over the last 14 months it's been testament to that, really. The other excuse me, the other main focus area that hopefully you have made use of and have noticed improvements in is the knowledge base content improvements. So via my support, you can access the knowledge base articles. We were producing knowledge base articles for every incident that was raised, allowing you to access online services and perhaps self-heal moving forward. So it's very important. I know there was a major focus from us on adding excellent content to the knowledge base. So we have content improvements there. So please use those resources as initial part of your analysis consideration when raising an incident. There may be areas that we have resolved before, and you might benefit from those. And last but not least, on this kind of top 10, customer advocacy across the organization. And it's actually extremely important for me, and it's important for me for you to understand that we advocate for the customer in order to be the voice of the customer within the organization, to discuss with engineering, improvements on release cadence, to discuss with Martin and the product team, how we can do better, in order to discuss with professional services, what we're seeing and the trends that we're seeing. We do need your feedback, and we do take that feedback, and we do advocate for you across the organization. So if we are to keep doing that effectively, we need to keep hearing from you, and we can continue to improve our service and improve our products. So I wanted to show you a kind of an impact of our decision, and kind of coming whole circle really back to the headline KPIs that we introduced this presentation with. This is a long-term chart, and again, it's real world, even with the dips and troughs and highs and lows. I wanted to be transparent about what we're seeing and what you are feeding back to us. So what we're displaying here are long-term trends for customer satisfaction, customer effort, and product quality satisfaction. So over time, we have shown significant improvements over time, and this is feedback. This isn't incident metric. This is feedback, survey feedback that we're receiving directly from our customers. So it is the actual position that we have seen over a period of 14 months or so since we began to focus on our release cadence and a number of initiatives that I've already described. Yeah, so clearly these are real world long-term trends, clearly showing that you are accepting our initiatives and that they're providing tangible benefits to you and that are important to you. And as I said, they're entirely calculated on survey feedback. So yeah, we do have these dips at the beginning of our consideration of this journey we've been on. When we do encounter a dip in our feedback from you, as I've hopefully made clear throughout this presentation, we do take a very close look at that content, and we typically jump back from that from any dips we may have experienced. And yeah, with the dips and troughs, despite those, we have focused on ensuring that we get the best feedback from you. And yeah, there's very little else to say other than to this does verify that our efforts are impacting on your feedback, and we appreciate continued feedback from you there. So really, this is a closing slide in summary, that it's a constant review cycle. We regularly analyze our customer feedback, our incident metric data, a constant monitoring of our standard operating procedures, our analyst on education, our online resources, and team coordination. It's a constant review cycle, and we are listening. So again, survey feedback is vital to our process. We need to hear from you and understand your perspective. We advocate across the group, looking to improve the customer experience at every touch point, and ultimately this is to improve your experience, improvements in product quality, improved ticket handling, access to good self-service resources, and shorter resolution times. And with your feedback, we can continue to improve the service that we're delivering, and that really is the bottom line. Hopefully that's given you a good understanding of our approach in customer service, and that does conclude my presentation today.
Okay,
Yes.
Thank you so much, Steph, for that detailed data analysis and the feedback we are getting from the support customers. I think that is a great insight in all the work you do.